So there's no planning in this video. We're just going straight off the cuff here while I'm thinking of it in my head. The reason behind this video is because I just want to explain to people why my opinion when it comes to crime and analysis, particularly in serial killing, why does my opinion matter more than the general populations or the general opinion of a lot of people? And we're going to work our way through that. Now, the biggest reason why I am the most qualified to give you the most honest analytical opinion of crime and killing or serial killers or whatever it is, personality, psychology, is because I have the unique ability to be able to separate moral and emotional attachment to the subject matter. And why does that matter? Because when you take emotions away, right, your thought process is a lot more clear. You can make much better judgments, and that includes being analytical. You can make much better judgments on any situation when your emotions are not involved in it. Right now, whether I had this ability because it developed over time or I was somehow just born with it, I don't know. But what I do know is I do have the ability to analyze anybody despite what they have done. That includes men, that includes women, it doesn't matter, despite what they've done. They could have committed the most heinous crimes that you could imagine. I am more than capable of analysing that person, analysing their life, and more specifically, analysing their crime. I can talk candidly about crime, no matter how bad it is, right, without an emotional effect. And because I have no emotional effect when it comes to this, I am able to make analytical decisions and summaries. I'm able to evaluate evidence correctly, right? And then I'm able to present it to you in the most honest way. And hopefully what that is supposed to do is give you a much broader understanding of the whole criminal aspect. Okay, there's lots of people that make a lot of videos, most of it in this genre. A lot of it is conspiracy, but what a lot of people do is they get emotionally involved, right? They're too emotionally involved. They're going down paths that are completely either irrelevant or just don't make any sense whatsoever. Okay, they're trying to find connections that don't exist. Okay, a perfect example of this is actually Ian Brady and his idea that he took photographs of the graves and had people pose on these graves and they are somehow cryptic clues to more body locations. This is in fact false, right? It does not exist. Ian Brady took one picture of Myra Hindley stood on a gravesite. Okay, in criminology, if you're looking for any kind of answers, the one thing you are looking for consistently is patterns and trends, right? Until you can show me a picture that Ian Brady took on every single grave, right, then we can talk about a pattern or a trend. Okay, there's one picture of Myra Hindley stood on a grave. That is not a pattern, that's not a trend, that's not a thing that's going on, that's just one incident. There's no picture of her stood on anybody else's grave, right? And people will say, yeah, but there's pictures that he took where the graves are in the... Oh, well, yes, if you take a picture of a moorland scene, your favourite part of Saddleworth Moor, and it happens that you buried some bodies up there, there's a good chance that you might capture at least somewhat the location where it is. The picture of Myra Hindley stood on the rocks, right? Oh, this was taken over John Kilbride's grave. In the background is No, it's not. John Kilbride's grave is about 200 yards off the camera. You can't even see the area, right? There is no connection between these photos, right? This is something that people have taken on board. They've become emotional about it. And because they become emotional, they're creating all these make-believe connections in their head. Sometimes the truth is just kind of boring and people fantasize about making it something that it's not, right? That's why I'm able to make this decision. This is why I'm able to come up with this conclusion, because I've taken the totality of the evidence and I've looked for patterns, I've looked for trends, I've looked for behaviors. Ian Brady took pictures of lots of random shit, right? If every picture he took was a gravesite, then you might have an argument. But the fact that he took hundreds of pictures of just random shit, right, suggests that he just took pictures. He just took pictures, okay? There's no hidden graves. There's no, well, they went to this place and took a picture, so there must be victims up there. No, there's not. Sometimes people just take pictures. He took one picture with Myra Hindley and made her pose. That's it. You know, he had the opportunity to take pictures of all the graves, but he didn't. And somebody did comment on one of my videos and said about, there was a picture on that fairly recent Duncan Staff documentary where they showed, I think it was Pauline Reed's, yeah, it was Pauline Reed's grave, and it wasn't Pauline Reed's grave. Okay, they got it, either they got it wrong on that documentary or they just lied for dramatic effect, right? The picture that they show, and I think it's actually Duncan who says, oh, that's Pauline Reed's grave. It's not Pauline Reed's grave, it's John Kilbride's grave. In fact, you can pause it on that section, and in the John Kilbride grave, there is Myra, and there's a distinctive rock next to her foot with a crack in it. You can actually see that rock in that picture. You can see it in that picture, right? The picture's taken much further back, but you can see that black rock in that picture. Okay, so either they got it wrong, they just got it wrong, or they got it wrong on purpose for dramatic effect, right? Don't believe everything that you see on television, right? Especially from the fucking BBC. We know how reliable they are, right? So the purpose of this video is simple, right? If you want an honest, analytical, correct evaluation of crime and serial killers and criminal behavior and criminal psychology, then this is the place for you, right? Because that's what you get with me. You get no bullshit. You want me to talk about crime and give you an analytical perspective, then you come to me. Because we're not going to talk about how sad we are. We're not going to talk about how tragic this event is, right? I'm not devaluing the tragedy of the events. It's just not part of an honest analytical perspective, right? You cannot get emotional when you're talking about Ian Huntley and the girls that he killed. You've got to take the evidence as it is. Cold, hard facts, right? I'm not going to make a video about, for example, let's just use Ian Huntley as an example. I'm not going to make a video in the first 10 minutes of me talking about how tragic this event is with lots of sad music and let's all just feel bad. It's not serving any purpose in my opinion. Okay, maybe some people like that kind of content. Okay, for me, it doesn't serve any purpose. My job is to present people with a different perspective or a more honest perspective to maybe change some opinions, right? It's to broaden people's minds, challenge perspectives. I want your attention because I want to challenge the way that you think, because I can guarantee you that the majority of people do not think in a multi-level way where they can actually analyze somebody correctly without getting emotional. Somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, right? My previous video talked about how actually we lost something by losing Jeffrey Epstein. We lost something valuable, okay? These people have value. Their crimes don't diminish their value. They only diminish their value if you're an emotional person and you can't get over the crime that they've done, right? And we can also use the example of Ian Huntley. People are celebrating that he died. Fantastic, great. But what did he take away from everybody? He took away what really happened in that house. We know what happened. He killed 2 girls in that house, right? But he had the truth. He knew the truth. He knew what really happened. Maybe he was telling the truth. Maybe this idea that, you know, he accidentally killed one and then the other one was screaming and he accidentally smothered her. Maybe that's true. Maybe that account is actually true. Maybe people want it to be more morbid than it actually is. Maybe it just did happen exactly like that. We don't know. But you know someone who did know? Ian Huntley. And now that he's dead, we're never going to know. There could have been a point, so it could have been next year, it could have been in 10 years, it could have been 20 years' time when he finally went, okay, this is what happened. I've got a chronic illness. I'm going to die. I need to clean the slate. This is what happened. I saw the girls. I lured them in on purpose. I wanted to attack them. I wanted to abuse them. And this is how they died. But we're never going to know that now because he's dead. That is why we're not celebrating this. I'm not celebrating this. Okay? The fact that he's dead just emotionally has no impact on me either way. I don't really care. What I care about is the loss of information. That's what I care about. Loss of information. Okay? And I also don't believe in vigilante justice at all. You know, because once you open that jar, it never ends. Right? You cannot allow individuals to take justice into their own hands. Right? Because what somebody may perceive as injustice, in their opinion, might not be your injustice. Right? If somebody's driving along and they finish their drink and they throw it out the window, somebody pulls up beside them, pulls out a gun and shoots them in the face and says, that's justice. And people go, they wouldn't, would they? They wouldn't. They'd say, what a crazy person to do something like that over something so silly. But in that person's mind, That might have been their form of justice. This is why you can't have individuals make justice. You have to have a collective and then come up with the best scenario and the best solutions. This is why when they create laws, it's done by multiple individuals, okay, that present the evidence collectively, and then they come up with the best solution out of all of that evidence, not one person's opinion, because one person's opinion could be more extreme than somebody else's. So that being said, what is coming up on the channel? Well, I've got lots of different ideas. There's still more videos that I want to film up in Manchester. There's still some videos I want to film on the moors. There's also something I've got coming up in the summer that's going to take place in Manchester, but I have to wait for the summer. Very important, I have to wait for the summertime to do it. But it'll be something that nobody's ever done and nobody's ever seen. And some people think it's absolutely crazy. But there you go. I've got some other ideas as well. I'm going to start to slide a little bit into the paranormal side of things. Some of you might know that I do actually have a Ouija board. I am going to make an attempt to talk to the other side. Okay, we're going to try and talk to Myra Hindley, right? We're going to try and talk to Ian Brady. We're going to try and talk to Ian Huntley. We're going to try and talk to Jeffrey Epstein. We're going to try and talk to these people. Okay, we're going to use everything we can to try and communicate with these people. Personally, I do not believe in ghosts. Right, I've got no problem using the Ouija board on my own right now on the table. Yeah, no issue. I don't believe in ghosts. Before everyone jumps up and says what you're on about, blah, 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 I used to believe in ghosts. Really fanatically. There are certain situations and certain things that have happened in my life, paranormal, that I cannot explain. I'm talking to physical things, you know, where I've been pushed, shoved, pinned down, that I cannot explain. However, as I've gotten older, I've started to realize that there must have been actual explanations, scientific explanations for any experience that I've had, even though I don't know what they are. And the reason I say that is quite simply, if anyone's a believer in spirits, I'm about to just shatter your world right now. If ghosts were real, if when you die you can become a ghost, how many people on this planet do you think have died, human beings have died since human beings were on this planet? How many hundreds of millions of people have died since humans have been on this planet? If you could be a ghost and you could flicker lights and throw things around and push people around, don't you think that everywhere you go, at every single second of every single day, there would be some sort of spirit messing around? Billions of people, billions and billions of people have died since humans began. If they're all spirits, then you wouldn't even be able to do anything because everything would be flying in your face, being pushed over, lights be flying. You wouldn't be able to do anything. The fact that spirits just randomly appear in these really small moments where they just capture something moving like that. Oh, it must, come on. Think about this logically, right? Evidence does not point to the idea that they're real. However, we're going to try. I'm going to try prove myself wrong. I'm going to try and communicate with Myra Hindley. And if there is spirits out there, we're going to try and make it happen. So that's what's coming up. That's the end of this video anyway, guys. I just wanted to get that off my chest. If you're looking for honest, analytical, psychological opinions, Brit Moseley is the place to go because there's no bullshit. We just tell it how it is, okay? Till next time, guys, take care of yourselves. Don't do anything silly, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.